Hi, my name is Cynthia. Today is my Cynthia'S Top 10 Tips. The topic today is picking a lawyer. I am a retired lawyer, and I worked for 25 years in the divorce area and other areas. And I want to tell you that the best way to find a lawyer is by word of mouth. If you know somebody who's gone through a divorce or whatever problem topic you need, you can contact that person and ask them the name of the lawyer that they used. Now, that lawyer might not be good, and they'll tell you whether it's good or bad, but on the same token, it's good to have somebody else's name that you can start with. Now, the next thing is get on the internet. There'll be ads on the internet. In today's market, a lot of lawyers have ads. They can spend a lot of money for the ads. Now, does that mean that they're a good lawyer? No. Does that mean that if they don't have an internet spot, they're a bad lawyer? No. But that's a good way to start. Look on the internet. Another tip, when you do decide on different people, do at least 3 names and go to each one of those people. Don't just go to one person, check them all out, and then make a decision. Next tip. If you go to see a lawyer, beware you're going to have to pay a retainer down the road. Now, each lawyer charges a different amount. It can be as little as $1,500. It can be as much as $20,000 based on what is involved in your issue, a divorce, for instance, if there's custody and a lot of other battles going on. Now, where are you going to get your money for the retainer? Start thinking about it now, because it can be, they'll want it up front. Most of them do. If you go to a large law firm, beware, they are probably going to have the largest retainer, because that person has to justify to the partners and other people in the firm that they are of value, so they usually charge a large amount for a retainer. The amount of retainer does not indicate whether that's a good lawyer or not either. A small retainer could be somebody who's just starting out, but they are really sharp and want to do as much for you as possible. And I've known people who have spent $20,000 for a lawyer that did hardly anything and was worthless. So beware that retainers don't always mean everything. Next thing, hourly fees do not reflect whether there's a good lawyer or not. I was told by a good friend that she increased her hourly fee because the client seemed to think that she was more important if she had a higher hourly fee. We also noticed that hourly fees are going to increase, or be taken off your retainer, so that if you have a large hourly fee, your retainer is not going to be around very long if there's going to be a lot of issues. Next tip. Your lawyer is going to charge you every time you call him or her. So beware, if you have a large hourly fee, that every time you talk to them, they're going to keep track of how long you talk to them, and that is going to come off your retainer also. Next tip, read your retainer contract very carefully for that lawyer. That retainer contract can indicate that there's going to be no refund whatsoever if you do decide to change lawyers down the road. Now, every state's different. I'm in Michigan, and we can't do that. If that's in our contract, we had to refund the money anyway. So don't think that just because there's language in there means you can't get your money back. But check that out before you decide that you're not going to even try to get your money back. But if you give a large retainer like $20,000, you're going to want to try to get that money back as fast as you can. Now, again, read that retainer contract, because that lawyer might also charge you that if you decide to go to a different lawyer, they're going to charge you to make copies of everything in that file that you want. And some lawyers charge a lot of money to give you back your own papers. Other ones will just charge you minimal. So read that retainer contract very carefully. Next issue. You do not have to stay with that lawyer that you retain either. You can leave anytime you want. But if I were you, get another lawyer in mind before you do decide to leave that lawyer. And again, read your retainer contract very carefully before you decide to sign it, to know that what you have to go through in order to change that lawyers. Again, going back to the beginning when you start interviewing the lawyers, you might have a real good feeling on your first interview. Most lawyers give you a free half-hour interview too, by the way, so that don't feel like you got to pay them up front to interview them, and ask them before you when you first sit down, do they have that arrangement? If they do have the arrangement, that's good. Otherwise, be careful how long you spend with them. Now, if you do like that lawyer, still go and see the other lawyers that you have names of, and then you can always come back to that other lawyer, because you need to have something to fall back on as far as what you think. And another issue, don't judge a lawyer just by their office. If they're in a real fancy office, they have to justify paying for that office. So they might be charging you more money for a retainer because they have a secretary they have to pay for, very fancy office, very fancy electric, gas, and phone. So beware that when you come in, it might look really nice what they have, but they're going to have to pay for that, and that money will come from you. Now, those are my tips concerning picking a lawyer. Hope that they were helpful. I'm a retired lawyer, worked in the field for more than 25 years. I do not have my license, and I'm not giving you legal advice. This is my personal opinion on picking a lawyer. And most people found me by word of mouth. I didn't advertise. So I think I was a good lawyer. By the way, another thing is check up with the state on whether that particular lawyer has any grievances against them. The State Bar Association for each state keeps track of that. And if that particular lawyer that you're interested in has grievances, I'd be careful about hiring that lawyer, because that, and what those grievances were, might affect you down the road. If you did get something out of this, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a good day now.